All right, my people, welcome back to another episode of Social Verdict, where we come to the verdict of social problems, And today we're going to be talking about gender neutral bathrooms, and we're going to watch a debate and we're going to basically react to it and see how it goes. So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's get to it. All right, guys, let's go ahead and watch this debate about gender neutral bathrooms and let's see how it goes.
All new offices, schools, hospitals and entertainment venues will be expected to have separate male and female bathrooms, toilets, in a move to curb the buildings of gender-neutral facilities. Loose.
The move has been criticised by some as transphobic, but others argue
I'm not going to say nothing about that one.
it makes people feel safer.
We're joined now by LGBT campaigner Ramel Affleck and by political commentator Dominic Samuels.
Dominique.
Dominique. Oh, Dominique.
I'm a girl.
It's a gender-neutral name.
Oh.
Might be argued. Dom.
Dominique.
You don't agree
No.
with gender-neutral loos?
No, not at all. I think they're extremely dangerous, and you only need to look at the data. The data shows this. 90% of sexual assaults in changing rooms, for example, occur in gender-neutral facilities.
90%? That's a crazy number. I knew it was going to be high, but 90% is wild. I mean, how do you even argue with that? Doesn't that stop the debate right there? 90%, you think, oh, well, 90% is a pretty high number, but I don't know, let's keep going.
That's a fact. At schools, where they're
Sorry, say that again. That sounds that sounds like a stat we need to check out.
90% of
Right.
Sexual assaults in changing rooms occur in unisex facilities, and this was done from research that the Sunday Times did, and it was actually a few years ago they found this out. And it's not completely inconceivable that this would be the case. When you're in spaces where men can access women, what will happen is that sexual assaults will occur, and
All right, so I was going to say I totally agree with her, but as a man, I would phrase it. The more interactions that men and women have together, the more likelihood there are for, these type of situations to happen. But, that's not to, talk down on the facts of what she's speaking, but yeah, it only makes sense the more, that the two genders are together or interacting,
schools where they're doing this, a lot of the time without even the parents' knowledge, girls are afraid to go to the toilet because
Why does he look so pissed off already? Wait, let me bring that back.
without even the parents' knowledge,
Look at him. He's like,
girls
whatever.
are afraid to go to the toilet because of sexual harassment, but also uncomfortable about going to the toilet because of things like period shaming, because groups of boys would be guessing if a girl was on a period or not based upon how long she'd be in the bathroom. And the idea that this is somehow transphobic or anti-LGBT is completely nonsensical.
Okay.
I feel like with a lot of topics, there's things where people just have reasonable questions about, and then they're automatically shot down. Oh, you're racist, you're transphobic, you're bigoted, you're this, you're that. Like someone could have a honest question, as like whether or not something's valid, and then people call them all these names without even like at least telling them why they think a certain way of doing things is the right way of doing it, which I think is what kills a lot of the potential for there to be change, because people, instead of working towards it, they're just calling people names.
Okay, that's interesting. So look, let's park the
Okay.
stats because we're just producers onto that, just to find out the source of that. Ramel, what do you make of that particular the second point though, that girls, and Kemi Badenoch, actually the Equalities Minister, says this as well, says pupils are avoiding going to the toilet during school hours when they only have access to gender neutral lavatories.
And what's bad? Because when you're in school, all you want to do is go to the bathroom. You want to be anywhere but class. So I'm just saying.
Girls in particular, perhaps boys as well,
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to share toilets because they want to be private. Younger children might be overly curious about, you know, the opposite sex, and they might not want, for instance, when they are on their periods, to use a toilet where they're sharing it with boys. Can you understand that concern?
Look, for me, I think those are legitimate concerns. We live in a country where women and girls are experiencing all sorts of very difficult issues pertaining to whether that be physical abuse, verbal abuse, etc. We know there's a whole school of men, generations of men that are mistreating women, so I'm never going to trivialise that issue. But ultimately, this comes down to creating hysteria about issues that, for me, exist but have different solutions. So for me, you know, is it right that we are in a position where we're talking about toilets being the only place that women feel safe or a place of refuge? To me, we have to look at the root of the issue. The root of the issue is actually generations of men mistreating women.
But
and so,
Damn, men, do better. Come on.
So they're a source of privacy for women, and people like you want to take them away.
Absolutely, and it's not about taking anything away. Ultimately, this is about really thinking about what the solutions are to those issues. The solutions are twofold. One, that we get men to act differently, and when they're not, they're ostracised from those spaces. And second of all, let me finish. Second of all, the second issue for me is about real change for women, which is empowering women to, in those situations, by, for example, things like Ask Annie or Ask Angela, where staff are trained to actually seek out and see the kind of the signs before these
That's
things
after
happen
the attack
and
has
remove them.
happened.
Yeah,
No,
but
this
these are all retrospective, and they're all based upon stopping something occurring before it actually can.
Right,
and this is why it doesn't make sense.
So staying on toilets for a second, Dominic.
but there are
on aeroplanes, we're used to single sex.
Oh, this.
I'm just saying. No,
I know, but I've seen this in the
aeroplanes we're
comments
used to
so
it.
many times.
You go to the O2. I was there for the Strictly Live tour a few months ago. The men's toilet is empty, and there's huge queues of women, and enormous queues waiting for the women's toilets. Is there sometimes, in some places, a really good argument for this?
There are.
I feel like if there's a long line for the restroom and, you know, the opposite gender restroom or another restroom is open, I honestly don't think people are going to be as judgmental, because if you gotta go, you gotta go. Like, I'd hop inside the women's restroom if I have to, if there's no other available spot.
Thousands of gender neutral toilets across the country.
Are they gender neutral, or are they literally singular cubicles? Last time I checked on a train, there weren't queues of toilets on a train because there's no space.
So you mean that the cubicle is fine for the cubicle itself to be used by either men,
But
women,
the issue is
or
that
just one second. The point is, okay, you've got a cubicle that can only be used by one person. Once you go outside of the toilet, you are then sharing a space with other people, and the vast majority of those people will either be biological males or biological women.
Okay.
Alright, I see her point there. I think I get what she's saying. In like I guess an airplane or whatever, if you go in there, you know, I guess you're the only gender that's inside of there, right? And then if someone follows you, they're the only gender in there. But you know, it's not like multiple people are going in, you know, in like these small cubicle spaces like airplanes and like in like subways, which is what I think she's trying to say, which I think is a valid argument to make.
But then, just to interject, sorry, but just to be really clear, there are plenty of toilets in this country that are not gender neutral, where there is a shared space for washing your hands or waiting. So the issue, therefore, isn't gender neutral toilets. It's about maybe the design of the toilets. But I mean, to be honest with you, I think this is just another issue where we can perhaps, you know, create a kind of this kind of false hysteria around, you know, the issues that are important to trans and non-binary people.
It's not hysteria.
90%. I don't know if it's hysteria. That's a pretty big number.
Being afraid, I'm sorry, because this issue really annoys me. Girls being afraid to go to the toilet because of things like period shaming and sexual harassment. Women's Voice Wales, Women's Voice Wales, which is a women's activist group, cited a study by Warwick University that demonstrated 4 in 10 girls reported sexual harassment at school.
Okay.
People like you then want to remove those spaces.
We've got the research that you referred to, Dominique. Sunday Times, 2017 to 2018. This is a Freedom of Information request. Changing room sex attacks in council sports centres or swimming
Wow.
pools.
Look at that.
90% were in unisex changing rooms. 10% were in single-sex changing rooms. 134 total complaints. Thank you both very much.
Yeah, that was an interesting debate. In my opinion, I feel that the woman had a stronger case than the guy. Honestly, I think the guy's main argument was it's not the bathroom, it's the men. But I don't think he made a strong enough case. I see you made it through the entire video, which means either enjoyed the video or you were very upset about something I said. Either way, you watched through it, so you should either like, comment, or subscribe. Or you could do all three and be a super viewer. You never know when my channel might get canceled. Time to go.